Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I'm so happy to be with you again today as we consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. In today's episode, I want you to stop encouraging anxiety and fear. And we encourage them by being afraid of them. And so I have 5 tips that I want to go over with you today. But I wanted to start with a quote. And this is from Arthur Roach. And he says, "Anxiety is a thin stream of fear trickling through the mind. If encouraged, it cuts a channel into which all other thoughts are drained." And I think that's a wonderful way to start off today's episode when I am talking about how we can actually not dig that channel. Let's not cut that channel that is so deep that all other thoughts drain into it. So I talked earlier recently, I don't remember exactly which episode it was. I think I had 2 episodes on highly sensitive people. And so many people really resonated with those episodes. I got a lot of mail about those. And that's because many of us who struggle in our lives at one point or another with a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry, fear, insecurities, because we came into the planet perhaps more sensitive than some other people. And so we have these very creative minds. We have the ability to look out into the future, maybe, and maybe not always so positively. The more struggles that we are having, the more apt we might be to look at the future in a negative way because we are trying to protect ourselves. So the more we can understand about that, the easier it is to accept those pieces of ourselves. And when we accept something, we are able to actually work with it. If we are denying something, we can't work with it at all. So the highly sensitive person tends to be more vulnerable to anxiety. They have the creative, like I said, and very active minds. And when the fantasies and the creativity turn negative, you can actually begin to start feeling anxiety and feeling that the things that you are imagining in your mind are actually happening. Your amygdala is picking that up as current. This is happening. And so it flares up. And what happens when our amygdala flares up? We have hormones racing through our body that cause us to have all of our anxiety symptoms and sensations. And all of those feelings actually contribute to us thinking more negative thoughts. It's that cycle that just keeps turning until we interrupt it. And so today I want to talk about 5 tips so that you can stop encouraging your anxiety and your fear. And one of the things that we want to remember when we are putting our tips and our tools into effect for us that you don't need to do everything, but there are going to be certain ones that are going to just really resonate with you. And those are the ones I want you to take note of because there's something in you that felt like, ooh, that really hit me. Now, it may not hit you in a positive way. It may be like, ooh, that really scares me. That's okay. If it's scary at first, you may want to still look at those kind of tips and tools as to whether they can help move you forward, make you stronger. Sometimes when we're working out at the gym or at home or training for a physical event or feat, we do things that are hard and we do things that are kind of frightening or scary. Like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that many repetitions or lift that weight, but we build up to it. And so that's what I'm hoping that you will do with all of the tips and tools and suggestions that I have here on the show. Find the ones that resonate with with you, or the ones that you are really like, ew, that feels scary. Consider those. Consider those. They may be the things that stretch you just enough to get you to begin to calm that nervous system back down again. Now let's get into these 5 tips to stop encouraging your anxiety and fear. Last thing we want to encourage, right, is more anxiety. So the first one that I want you to take into consideration is to remember feelings and thoughts change like the passing clouds across the mountain. We have a meditation in our group that we do quite often because I like people to hear the same meditation a number of times in order to have it become a part of them, and that is the mountain meditation. It's also in our premium podcast feed where all of the old episodes are there and that meditation is in there. This is a great way for you to be able to envision yourself as the mountain, strong, rooted, and have the clouds, the life events, the thoughts, everything, feelings are all just passing across the mountain. Or people can view it as big, white, puffy clouds crossing a clear blue sky, right? The big blue sky and then the little clouds passing across. Remember that feelings are like that. They come and they go. When we are anxious, we tend to think they are going to stay forever. The feeling that I have right now is never going to end. It's never going to change. I have to do something about that right now, and that only feeds and encourages our anxiety. So let them pass like clouds across the mountain. The second one is don't avoid or run away from what is causing you to feel anxious. I want you to lean into it, face it, and use that creative mind that you have to find solutions to the challenges, to the person, to the place, to the thing that is really triggering you. Or, as I mentioned in episode 741, invite these thoughts and feelings to meet you at the end of your workday. Don't avoid them. By inviting them to meet you at the end of your workday for a little bit of an appointment time, a worry time, if you will, you are not avoiding them. You are not running away from them. You are actually inviting them in. Just not in this moment because I am doing something else. But we are leaning into it. We are facing it. And we are using our creative mind to invite a thought to meet us later. Like, that just sounds very creative. The third one that I want to mention to you is that you can control how you react to things in life. All that life will throw at you, you get to choose how you are going to react. The stress is in the reaction, not in the event or the person, the place or the thing. The stress comes from our reaction, how we are interpreting it and how we are responding. I like to think of responding instead of reacting. Reacting can feel like we didn't even give it a thought, or we hadn't slowed down enough to really digest what is happening. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. But a response, there is a little bit of space. If we give ourselves that little bit of space, it doesn't have to take a lot. It's not like you have to slow your life down to a crawl. But the more that you pay attention to your reaction or your response, you will begin to see that little bit of space, that little gap where you get to choose. It's there. It is there. And the more you practice it, the more visible it will become to you. So see if you can start to notice your reaction or your response to everything that life is throwing at you, because the stress is in the reaction. It is not in the event or person in front of you. The fourth one I want to talk about is I want you to remember little mini relaxations throughout your day. This is something that we often put off, thinking that we're going to take some time over the weekend or at the end of the day, or I want you to interrupt all kinds of places in your day with little mini relaxations. And so some of these take more time than others, but think of things that could bring you a little bit of pleasure in the middle of your day. How about a cup of calming tea, such as a chamomile tea or a tulsi tea or a lemongrass? How about listening to the Calm app that we talked about just a little while ago, or a podcast? How about doing your Tai Chi warm-ups? Those only take a few minutes. You could do child's pose or your favorite 5-minute yoga postures. You could take an Epsom salt bath at the end of the day, or believe it or not, I'm not making this up, I have more than one client who takes a bath in the middle of the day. So maybe maybe you're at the office and they do not have tubs, but this is something that if you are working at home and you have somewhat of a flexible schedule, that you could pop this into your day. You could listen to some calming music. Even if you just take a break for 5 minutes and listen to a piece of favorite music that calms you, and then go back. I worked in corporate world for way back in the day, and we had regular scheduled coffee breaks. We can now use that kind of idea and have a calming break, right? Where we go off somewhere for 10 minutes and take some time to calm our mind and let it relax into the rest of the day that's coming. You could do a short inspirational reading. Some places offer chair massage. Those take maybe 10, 15 minutes. You could get that, or treat yourself at the end of the day to some foot reflexology. Really remember that this is something that you need to do for you. No one else is going to give you permission to do it. No one else is going to show you the way and give you the tools. You have to pick the tools up and you have to go and do it yourself. Maybe none of the suggestions I just read off, these are just things that came to mind for me, but maybe there is something that you love to do for 5 or 10 minutes that just really soothes your soul. Try to do that throughout the day, maybe once or twice in the morning and once or twice in the afternoon. If it doesn't take much time, I know that you can get it in there, and it will interrupt the constant layering that we are doing of our stressors throughout the day. We are interrupting that. We are giving our nervous system the opportunity to go from the stress side back to the peace and calm side. And of course, we will get triggered throughout the day. Something will come up. Our parasympathetic nervous system will be let go of, and we will be into our sympathetic nervous system, which is the stress side, and responding or reacting, and our body will be reflecting that. But if we can also take these times throughout the day to go back into a relaxation for 5 minutes, into letting things calm down, let your muscles relax for a second, then we are giving our body the chance to give the signal to the mind and the brain that, hey, everything's okay. We can rest again into the parasympathetic nervous system. It's a system that is meant to be gone back and forth in. You know, if you have anxiety, you're a pro at being in the sympathetic side of your nervous system. You know how to be there. You know how to clench down. You know how to have your heart beat, palms sweat. You got this. Thinking thoughts that are scanning the horizon for danger. You got that piece down. Where you need to practice is in the parasympathetic side of your nervous system, the place where peace and calm can rise again. And the fifth tip that I have for you is to remember that anxiety panic doesn't kill you. It does feel like that It feels like death. I remember that feeling. People would say, well, what is it? How do you feel? And I said, I feel like I'm going to die. Like there was nothing wrong with me. There was nothing happening around me, but it was this impending doom, this feeling like I was going to die. But remember, anxiety, panic does not kill you. It feels like it in the moment, but it will pass and you will still be standing. Keep the feelings and the sensations in perspective and avoid fueling the fear, anxiety, fear cycle. You want to stop encouraging anxiety and fear to continue. And we do that by these 5 ideas I had for you that you can actually interrupt the cycle. And it is every time that we interrupt it, we give our nervous system the opportunity to fall back into its natural state, its parasympathetic side of the nervous system of peace and calm. And now for today's quote. Fear keeps us focused on the past or worried about the future. If we can acknowledge our fear, we can realize right now, today, we are still alive and our bodies are working marvelously. Our eyes can still see the beautiful sky. Our ears can still hear the voices of our loved ones. And that's from Thich Nhat Hanh. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.